Hello, and welcome to our first ever episode of the Navigating Disability podcast. My name is Kate, and I am one of your co hosts. My other host is a colleague and a very dear friend of mine, Jennifer Abbott. Now, she will be very upset with me calling her that because everybody knows her as Jen.
Yes.
Morning, Jen.
Good morning, Kate. Thank you. No, I only ever got called Jennifer when I was in trouble from my mum. So hopefully I don't get in too much trouble with this podcast today.
Absolutely not. We've known each other for a couple of years now. It's almost coming up to 2 years, which is really exciting. I don't quite know where that time has gone. It's
We've
been
been through a lot,
we have been through a lot.
to say the least.
Absolutely. And whilst this podcast is not about our business or what we do or anything like that, this is all about how we as individuals navigate disability and hopefully how we can help you, the listeners, to navigate either their own disability or maybe a disability for somebody that they're caring for.
I think it just brings it down to the why we do it and why parents and people that have a disability show up for each other on a day-to-day
And
basis.
that is an amazing place to start, Jen. Why? Why are you here today? Why are you here with me?
I guess the why for me is my background was never in disability. It was all around corporate and working with, my background is finance and auditing. That's where I'm from. But losing my mum quite suddenly around 12 years ago really threw things into turmoil for me and my family because it was unexpected. And, navigating all of that with my dad who was suffering Parkinson's at the time and my mum was his carer. So it took a whole new, I guess my life took a whole different perspective because you always think that your family's going to be around you. And at that point in time, my whole world just disappeared. Or the world that I knew, so I had two young children at the time and then trying to help my dad grieve and manage him and helping him with his Parkinson's disease and his challenges ahead and helping him grieve the loss of his life partner, the only thing he ever knew. So it was a hard transition, but then to help my dad, at the later stages of his Parkinson's really changed my why, I guess, and looking at my life and going, well, why am I doing it? Why am I in corporate? Why am I, battling all these battles for someone else when he's my dad that needs me? So I ended up not working. And with my sister, we took on the care of my dad with my nephew, who was 21 at the time. So it was just having a collaborative front with my dad and just watching him and seeing him become a shell of himself really, really stuck with me. And just then having to putting him, a nursing home and all of those challenges that come with that, both emotionally and the realization that this stuff's real. This is real.
And
So
you
I
don't get
think
a second chance either.
no. So I think that was my turning point and why I got into disability and into the space because there's not enough support for families going through such a life-altering change, whether that be death, whether that be a new diagnosis, or whether they're having a child, coming through and they're having their own challenges and things like that. It's about, I guess, having a safe space for people. So that's why, yeah, that's my why, I guess.
And so was your dad diagnosed with Parkinson's before your mum passed?
So he hid it for a little bit. He hid it, and it was just one moment when my mum looked at him and his hand was shaking, and she turned around and she said, What's going on with your hand?" And he instantly just grabbed it. Nothing. And she went, "No, no, 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 that's not nothing. What's going on?" And he'd been battling it for like I think around 12 months, little triggers, and I don't want to say it, Kate, but typical male, they they'll just get on with things. And that was my dad. He was a true blue Aussie bloke. You just get in and you do it. And if I can reflect on my dad, he was the typical coconut oil, mowing the lawn in his stubbies and his thongs. That was my dad. And
Trying to
that
get the best suntan he could.
absolutely, he was the brownest man in the cul-de-sac, you know. So it was for him to face that was huge for him because he lost himself the day he was diagnosed because he was the most independent, loving, you know, go-getter that you'd ever meet. And then to see him transition into a shell of himself was really hard. And it was hard for my mum. And so I think he'd been diagnosed, about 6 or 7 years before she passed away. And that, if I'm to be honest, the day my mum died, we lost my dad because he gave up and the Parkinson's took hold. So a lot of grieving takes place with a diagnosis, with anything in life. There's a grieving process. And I think I went through all of it in a space of 6 months from the time my mum passed to the time where we had no choice but to put my dad in a nursing home. So
And I'm
I
assuming at that time he would have been past the age for NDIS.
Yep.
So therefore there was no sort of help there. It was very much mainstream supports.
I didn't really think along the lines of NDIS, you know, even if he was younger, because he was diagnosed younger, like, yeah, but the symptoms didn't hit harder for him until he was over that point. But, you know, I never looked at NDIS for my dad. It was never something in my mind because I never really understood disability. And I'm going to be brutally honest, like because I'd never been touched by it at that point. But then to watch my dad's journey and to really open my eyes to the big wide world. So I was naive, I guess.
And do you think it's fair to say that until you've gone through something, it's really hard to grasp it,
Oh,
honestly.
absolutely.
You can understand it and you can be
Yeah.
sympathetic, but until you're actually touched by it,
Yeah.
it's really hard to appreciate the struggles that people are going through.
Absolutely. I'm getting teary just thinking about it because the realization that people walk through life and they have great lives. Everyone has a life that they love or they don't love. There's two polar opposites in this world. But when you're touched by disability or a diagnosis, it's world shattering. At that point in time, at that moment, when someone says to you, whether that's Parkinson's, autism, your child is diagnosed with autism, you're diagnosed with autism, it's a knowing and it's a acceptance thing, and you go through stages of grieving, and it's the best way I can put it. And yeah, it's a grieving process to be able to come to that acceptance point in
So,
life.
at what point then did you move from the corporate world, having been touched with your dad and the journey that he went on, and you went on, and your family went on? What came next for you? What did you decide, or how did you decide that that's the area you wanted to move into?
Um, COVID. I
Yeah.
was I was operations manager for a very successful company, and COVID hit, and I was made redundant. And whilst I have no animosity to the owners, because COVID was real, the world shut down.
Yep.
Everyone was navigating their own what's going on. But it made me just feel like a number. And I think sitting with it and being in lockdown and being with my kids, my three boys, and just sitting with them at home and having that time with them, it really made me think about my life and where I was going with it. And then, you know, being locked down, how long were we locked down for? 2 years? You know, it seems like
And
a
we're
bad.
lucky that was Queensland, let alone Victoria or anywhere else.
Coming from New South Wales, I was glad to be here because we could still, you know, move around and be a little bit social in that respect. But sitting with that and just feeling like a number and just like dispensable. So, you know, again, not about how it happened because all businesses struggled at that point. So it's not about that. It was about the realization for me as a person, as a mum, going through that. And again, another grieving process, I guess, where you're just like, where am I headed with my life? And my kids enjoyed me. It was the first time they had me. I don't know if that even makes sense. It's
They had all of you. You
they
were
had me not even unconditionally, what's the word? Uninterrupted. I wasn't getting called away to a meeting. It was mum's here, mum's in it with me. I'm scared, but mum's here. And I think COVID did me a favor. Shock horror. People are going to go, what the? But I think it did me a favor to realize that my worth and my kids' worth are more than a corporate paycheck. And that's where I landed. Um, I I'll be honest, I applied for about 150 jobs and got knocked back because I had too much experience because I lived a life. I risk and compliance, audit, you name it, I was in it. Any challenge, give it to me. Let's learn. But that meant nothing. It meant nothing. So I just sat there and I just said to my husband one day, I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do it anymore. And he's so supportive. He just went, babe, what do you want to do? And I go, I want to help people. I want to help people like my dad. I want to help people that need the understanding and need the guidance. And that's how I pretty much landed in disability. It was sitting in reflection in lockdown with my kids and my family.
So what did you do? What was your next move?
Oh, you ready for it?
I'm ready.
I set up a cleaning business to
A
help
cleaning
the
business.
elderly and to help. I didn't land in NDIS initially, like that wasn't where I landed, but it was more around helping the elderly, like my dad. So people that, couldn't vacuum. So I'd go in and most of the people that I dealt with were lonely.
Yeah.
And that's where I came from. So yeah, people go, oh, cleaner. It was more than that for me. It was more than that. It was more about coming home at the end of the day knowing that that person had me to talk to and have a chat with. And while they had their cup of tea, I was moving around and having a laugh with them. And in that moment, just getting them out of their world or any crisis that they were in. So it was, yeah, it was a cleaning business to the world around me, but to me, it was I'm making a small little difference in someone's life. And just due to word of mouth and things like that, I was approached by a family who had four autistic children. So
Massive.
I did a weekly clean for them, 3 hours a week, and that changed my life. It absolutely changed my life. Four boys, all autistic and all so different, Kate. Oh my God, they were beautiful. Single mum, and she was smashing it. I was in awe of this woman. She was just the most caring and loving mum. And you could see the stresses, but all those kids knew that mum was there. Mum was there fighting the fight for them. And they were, like, I think the eldest would have been about 20, and then they scaled down to 11. But I tell you what, they were all so different and also smart in different areas.
So much potential.
One could take over the stock market and make millions. He was that switched on. And then you had another one that he could memorize a recipe and cook it there and then. And his goals was he wanted his own cafe and, the goals that they were setting for themselves. And then you had one that he was my greatest achievement, I think. He wouldn't talk, would not talk to anyone, wouldn't come out of his room. And the day he said, hi, Jen, and his mum turned around and went, what? That right there was like, this is why I'm doing it. Because he was comfortable enough to come out of his room and have a chat.
You built his trust.
It was huge. That was huge for me. And just to watch them and their support workers coming in and taking them out in the community, it was to see that. That's why when a job was advertised, it was like, I think I could do good here.
So why did you get out of the cleaning company and go into
Because I'm old, Kate. Because I'm old. No, no.
old?
I shattered my knee on the job. I dislocated it on a bath, and it was around Christmas time, about a month before Christmas. And Jen being Jen, nah, I can't let anyone down. I'm just going to keep pushing through. But it was to my detriment. I spent Christmas in a knee brace from thigh to ankle, because I'd torn all my tendons in my knee. I displaced my patella. Oh, I was a mess, an absolute mess. And the doctor's like, nope, you're going to end up not being able to use your knee if you don't start thinking about other things to do. So I'd said to my husband, I said, and it broke my heart because I'd built such a beautiful base of clients. I'd never want to let anyone down. I just turned to my husband in tears and went, I can't do it anymore. And that's why I just started looking in the space to find something that I could find my purpose again. Like it was, I had to find something because I never wanted to go back to corporate as such. I didn't want to go back and just be a pen pusher. I wanted to be able to log off at the end of the night and go, I've done something today.
So
And
I have a confession, Jen, and I know that we have spoken about this before.
yeah,
I received your resume,
you did.
and all I saw on it was owner of a cleaning company, and I dismissed it.
Yeah.
That's how judgmental I was.
But you're not alone in that.
No, no, absolutely not alone. And it was obviously another colleague that said, "Oh, I think you need to look at this girl." So we went through the resume and so forth, and then we met.
Yes.
And I still remember that very first day of you walking in my front door and me feeling as though I had known you for years. I think my first question was, "Do I know you from somewhere?"
Yeah. And I instantly went to the corporate side and went, oh, have you worked here, here, or here? Because that's, yeah. But I have been, no, people do say that I'm just, it's the energy I give off.
Absolutely, it's the energy. And, that's what we love about you is that you are so real. And that's what we want this podcast to be about. We want people to know that we are just normal. We've all been on our own journeys.
Yeah.
And if we can make someone else's journey just that little bit easier, that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. And it's, we're all navigating something different. No one's story is the same.
No.
And as I like to say, we're all perfectly imperfect because, we all have our days. We really do. And it's not, good or bad. We just need to sit with it and move on from it. But yeah, it, I don't know. It's
So
just,
tell me about the last 2 years. How do you feel about where you're sitting now and what you're doing and how do you
articulate that one.
yeah.
There's a lot of emotion behind it. I won't lie. It's been a roller coaster, but in a very, I'm going to say a beautiful way because I've got to know so many people, and the participant. I adore them. I absolutely, anytime I pick up the phone, I'm happy to hear from them because they're calling me for a chat, whether they're having a bad day or they need help with something. I adore my clients. I adore all of our clients. I do speak to a lot of them across the day, but I do have clients that I deal with every day on the job, and I just I found my purpose. As simple as that.
And do you feel as though it's been a really good sort of I was going to say lead into what you're doing now? Like you've sort of gone the different journey
Yeah,
and
I needed to go through all of that
yeah.
to land where I am. So my corporate background has given me a lot with regards to structure and process and identifying inefficiencies of the NDIS, whatever that looks like. We all, as I said, we all have our challenges. Every business, everything. But if I'm that one source of hope or truth for someone, and I can break it down and go, right, no smoke and mirrors, this is how it is, then I've done my job. I'm not here to sugarcoat anything because that doesn't achieve anything. It doesn't. It gives people false hope. And that's not what Inspires and Co is about. That's not what I've ever found since working here. It's about it is what it is. You know,
Absolutely.
and I think that's why people gravitate to the business, to you, Kate, because you know, you're going through your own challenges, you know, as a mum. And I think that resonates in the business as well. The care. We have a care factor. It's not just a business, it's a family. And
Absolutely.
that's what I get out of it, really. And that's why I'm still here.
And I thank God every day, and I'm not religious, but I thank God every day that you are still here because, you know,
Yeah.
you really are my right hand woman. And I do come to you for a lot. You've been very, very supportive. You've opened my eyes up to a lot, and you know, you've put me on different paths here, there. I'm not sure if I can thank you for all of those, but
No, no. Oh, look, you know, it's all, hey, every challenge is a lesson. That's how I look at it.
and it's growth.
Yeah.
Everything is about growth. And that's really where this podcast is leading to as well, is
Yeah.
as long as you're putting a foot in front of the other, one
Yeah.
foot in front of the other, you're growing and you're going somewhere. It's when you give up that you really lose all hope.
You lose
And
yourself
sorry,
because you lose yourself.
yeah,
If you give up, you know, that's not how mama raised us. You know, that's not how our parents, you know, and that's what I instill in my kids as well. You know, you face the challenge, you face it head on. If you fail, it's not a failure, it's a lesson. It's a, you know,
absolutely.
and it can be life altering, you know, but I don't think any lesson's a bad lesson. Mm-mm, not in life.
As long as
Not.
you don't keep making them,
Yeah, well, then that's a silly mistake. That's a mistake, not a lesson. But I think learning lessons is growth. And it's essential. And I think that resonates with the disability community. They have so many challenges, but if we learn one thing and we just take one step in front of the other to make a change, then we've done something and we've learned a lesson.
absolutely. And moving on from that, you know, my sole purpose of creating this company
Yep.
was to change people's lives.
Yeah.
And that's my goal every single day.
Yeah. So do you want to give us a bit of your background, Kate? I've talked a lot about me, but land
Yeah.
race, because in disability, you have so much passion for it. So I think, you know, the listeners would love to know why. What's your why?
And look, and it's really interesting, and this is all really starting to become apparent now, at 50 years old, which is scary because, man, I wish I knew back then what I know now because life would have been much easier.
Be the person you are
But
now.
that's exactly right. And I'm very proud of who I am. I love who I am,
Yeah.
but obviously I'm always looking for growth. So I started in the police force many years ago, probably 30 years ago now, and spent 10 years in there. So that was one way again of I wanted to change people's lives, but it probably wasn't the best place to be because it can be quite a negative experience. And I found, you know, you would arrest someone, you'd try and help them, you'd send them out the front door, and the next day they'd be back in the back door. So it was really just a revolving door.
Soul destroying.
Yeah, and it's soul destroying. And it got to the point where I was exhausted. I'm a care bear. You know, I want to help people. I want to improve people's lives. And I just couldn't in that environment. So I went overseas, met my husband, had some children, came back, and I didn't work for 10 years. I'm a very black and white person. I'm very much do as I say, not as I do. And the police force worked really well with that because, and I hate to say it, I had the power. I had the power behind me. I had a badge, I had a gun, I had everything else. So what I said went.
Yeah.
Um, then I had children, and that all went out the window. And I was like,
Vulnerable and soft, I say.
oh my God.
Yeah.
So I was a stay-at-home mum for 10 years and knew I wanted to do something, but didn't know what. And then I went on the journey, the autism journey. And that was the friggin' hardest journey I have ever been on. And it got to the point where I would say, either my son is going to survive or I'm going to survive. It's not going to be both of us. Um, you know, I'm not going to say we almost lost our marriage, but, there was pressure on our marriage. There was pressure everywhere.
Yeah.
And that really was my first introduction to disability when my first son was diagnosed with autism.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that if you don't go to a specialist in autism, a lot of people don't actually understand what autism was, and neither did I. I thought autism was kids, adults banging their heads on a wall, dribbling, severely affected.
Let's be real, Kate. Autism back in the day was your child's just bad.
Absolutely, they were naughty.
They're chucking tantrums. Oh, well, you
Yeah.
need to that child. So I think there's been a lot of growth in the space to recognize that no, these aren't naughty children. They're misunderstood. They need guidance and, to allow them to grow. And I think that's the one good thing where we're landing in this space now, that there's
And
more.
absolutely. And that's what I've learned. Once I knew what the problem was, I could deal with it,
Yeah.
could manage it. And I've had to change and I was one of these people that was like, well, you had the child with disability. That's your responsibility to look after them. Oh my God, that is so not true. Like it takes a village. It's hard. It's exhausting. And, you've seen me, Jen, when I'm at my absolute wits end. I
Yeah.
I actually cringe at the person I was before I went on this disability journey, because it is so hard. And so we went down the autism, and then COVID hit, and I started to see signs in my second son. And I was like, oh, but again, totally opposite ends of the spectrum. Like
Yeah.
they're going, I can't do this again. Um, and then we had the NDIS stuff. And the reason I started this company was because I didn't want people to go through the same journey that I went through, because it was soul destroying, it was hard, and it almost broke me. I am very caring, I am very passionate, but Jesus, that takes it out of you. And
Yeah.
you're doing that every single day. You need someone to guide you.
Mm.
And the NDIS has changed my life. I am forever grateful and forever thankful to the
Yeah.
NDIS. But I know that there are a lot of people out there that are not in the same situation as me, and they're the people I'm trying to help. By going on this journey, it's opened up my eyes to a lot of things, and a lot of things that I probably dismissed in the past. To us having a conversation and you saying to me, do you think you're a bit ADHD, Kate?
Yeah, I did.
You remember that conversation, Jen?
I do. And it was, and for the listeners, it wasn't a pot shot at Kate. It was,
No, not at all.
we were having a conversation, and I've got to know Kate quite well over the time that I've been here. And there were just little things that Kate stims, as we'll call them, that Kate would
What
do.
about that? But you are 100% right.
And then there was one day I'm just like, I'm gonna, because I don't even know what you were doing. I think you were shaking your knee and the computer was going, and I could see, and I'm just like, hey, Kate. And it was as organic as that. It was like tongue in cheek, hey. And your eyes just lit up and like a light bulb were gone off. And you went, oh my God. That's how simple it was. Just, it was things that I just noticed and didn't even think anything of it. And I think that's what people do. They've all got those little stims or nervous tics or things like that that they do to a coping mechanism,
Yeah.
and it just takes that one comment or question to go, hey,
And
and
I've had a lot of single things
Hmm.
Happened that I'd go, oh, geez, that's autistic. Oh,
Yeah.
geez, oh, gosh. But I never put it all together. And it was that comment that day that's now led me to go and get myself diagnosed.
Yeah.
At 50, I have now been diagnosed with autism and ADHD. And as you said earlier on, it's all about a grieving process because all of a sudden I was like, wow, there's actually nothing wrong with me. For the
Yeah.
last 50 years, I have been masking so much, which is why I'm so exhausted all the time,
Migraines and everything. It's all intertwined.
all intertwined. So I'm now going through that process of trying to understand myself
Yeah.
and what does this mean for me? And whilst it doesn't change me as a person, it so helps me understand why and who I am.
It makes you not be so hard on yourself.
I was
Because
always very hard on
you're
myself.
always self-critical. You would always put yourself down. You would always, if something happened within the business, you took it so personally that you would end in tears
Yeah.
because you took it as a personal attack or that you hadn't done enough. And to enable you to get that diagnosis and free you of that blame
Yeah.
and to say, I am okay, I am me, that's massive. And
Mm.
I remember the day you told me, and the smile on my face because whilst it's scary, I guess, scary to be diagnosed, um, for anyone to have that diagnosis, but for you to accept it and go, it's, I'm okay, that's huge. That's huge. So I was so proud of you, but so elated that you finally realized that there's nothing wrong with you because you would always say, is it me? Is it me? You would always come back to self-destruct mode when things would happen. And the amount of conversations that we had around that and going, that's not what this is about. Like
And it's
again,
interesting. I had a similar conversation on Tuesday with Karen. Karen's someone who we work quite closely with, and we were talking about this podcast. Now we've been talking about this podcast for what, 3, 4, 5 months,
wow.
and I've put it in the too hard basket. Don't want to fail at it. Don't want it to be stupid. Don't want this, so I just don't do it. Karen and I discussed that on Tuesday, and she's like, Kate, that's actually your process. You need to process this. You need to have that 3 months to go through and work out what you want to say and how you want to say it. And once I realized that, it took all the pressure off because that's my process and that process is okay. Whereas I was sitting there thinking, why can't you bloody do this? It's not hard. You're stupid. Why are you procrastinating? Da 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 da.
It's self-sabotage, Kate.
Self-sabotage. And here we are. And how easy has it been? It's a conversation.
It is. And that's it. And you can script as many questions as you like to anyone, but just ask a question and generally it will flow. It will flow. And that goes with all the families that we
Yeah.
work with. It's just a question. Are you okay? And having that asked of someone can open up so many different facets of a conversation.
And you
And
know how many times I've asked that question and there's dead silence and then there's tears.
yeah,
And I
absolutely.
get the apology. I'm so sorry. Please
No.
don't apologize. Let it out.
Yeah.
Let's talk. And I'll tell you what, people get off the phone and they feel so much better.
I think that's the thing because in everything in life, no matter, as a business and all the challenges that we faced and all, the changes in NDIS and, all the participants and the families out there and the challenges that they're facing right now, the confusion, the anxiety, the what am I going to do now? That fear, that would be the best word I could describe
Yeah,
it for.
no.
They're fearing what's next. I think to have someone that you can go to just for, are you okay? Tell me what you're feeling means so much. And I think that's what I've learnt in this space that it's okay not to be okay,
Mm.
but it's also okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
And I think with our families, like I had one that they've come to us recently, and I'll just throw it in there. Family have come to us with challenges. They've been knocked back 3 times for a diagnosis with other companies. And to change the narrative for that and go, no, well, we're not going to do it that way because that doesn't work. Let's do it this way. And they've been accepted. To have that emotional response to that, you've been accepted for your diagnosis, and to have her on the other end of the line, it was more of that giddy schoolgirl, nervous laugh that, oh my God, this has happened. I'm
And
able to,
I actually know who you're talking about
yeah,
because I got a text message.
yeah,
I could tell, even just reading the text message, how genuinely happy she was.
yeah. And
Finally, someone had acknowledged what she was going through.
and I mean the years of pain
Oh,
gone through, but was unable to use her funding for that because she hadn't met the scheme for that. And the amount of time she kept getting knocked back after knockback, and then to come to us and just go, help, please help me. And to be able to sit there and go, right, well, what have you been through? And I guess we build strategy.
yeah,
Okay, so what's happened in the past? Well, obviously that hasn't worked. So how do we move forward? And I think as a support coordination company, and navigating disability, I think the main difference or point of difference for us and the girls that work with us is that we're genuine in our approach, and we're calculated in our approach to get the best results, because at the end of the day, NDIS is an insurance company, it's a business. And there's certain processes and hoops that you have to jump through. And that's a given to anything that you do in life. There's always red tape. But I believe in my heart of hearts that us as humans, you and I and the girls, that we've got enough knowledge and enough experience to collaborate and to be able to get the best result for our participants. And that might be me just, tooting our horn, but I truly believe that in my heart, because we come from our hearts. We do everything to help that, and it's as organic as that. We're not in it for clout. It's to help and be able to. I say to my husband, I'm able to sleep at night.
mm.
And I think that because I can make a difference. And I think that's the essence of what we do. And this podcast, it's being able to allow people to be heard and to know that they're not alone, because there's so many people navigating disability at the moment. They're isolated.
Yeah.
They're alone. They don't feel that there's a light at the end of their tunnel, but there is.
And that's exactly why we've started this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not about our business. It's not about anything like that. It's about inspiring people to live the best life that they can live.
Yeah,
And we can give them direction on
absolutely.
how to go about that.
Yeah.
That to me is what this is all about.
And this is about someone in there, having a moment, and they're able to reach out on Spotify, wherever this podcast, they'll find this podcast, and to listen to it and just go, take a breath and
Mhm.
go, they get it. I'm not alone. And that's what I want out of it. I don't, because there's many people navigating disability that aren't in the NDIS space. They're not. They're
And we've got a list of people that
yeah,
we are going to speak to, and some are famous, and
yeah,
some are everyday people like you and I.
absolutely. Because it affects everyone.
Everyone,
Everyone has a story. You can have millions and millions of dollars in the bank, but I can guarantee you there's a story.
absolutely.
It's everyone has something that shaped their life, or something that has impacted them so significantly that they're where they are today. And you
We
can't tell me.
can, yeah, if we can, guide people or give people another way of looking at something,
Yeah,
that's what I'm for.
yeah. Because it's not about, as you're right, it's not about the business,
No, not at all.
about translating into the wider community that it's okay. It's okay. You just need to ask for help. There's help out there. And if we can, I guess in the term of navigating, if we're able to navigate someone that is in the depths of their despair because they're misunderstood or they don't know what's out there for them, if we can be one olive branch for that, then we've done our job. That's what it comes down to.
So in terms of moving forward, I really see this podcast as, obviously you and I are co-hosts. So you may do some interviews on your own. I may do some interviews. We may do them together. But there will always be different topics and different types of people. As you said, disability affects everybody. It's not
Absolutely. And
just
you may not even think about it, like, because you go on with your day and you've got your jobs and your kids and your husband and your family and sporting event, everything. All our days are filled with something. But if you sit and reflect, you've been touched by disability at some point in your life. And it's not even about disability either when you look at it. It's about illness because, Parkinson's is a disease, it's an illness, but it ends up being debilitating, so, and you've even got cancer, you've got all these things that are life altering. And that's what I want to reach out to people for, just so they know that they're not alone, because in that moment they feel that they are.
And I can't remember the stats, but I do remember thinking, oh my God, that is just amazing. The NDIS supports such a small amount of disabled people. There are
Absolutely.
so many disabled people in our community that you wouldn't even realize. I have no doubt that this is actually, for any of my friends that listen to this podcast, this will be the first time that they are hearing that I am autistic.
Yeah.
Because I hide it so well, and there's such a stigma to it. I want to remove that stigma. Everyone deserves a chance. Everyone, it's my biggest bugbear. Everybody has so much potential.
Yeah.
They're given the resources that they need.
Yeah, it's actually making me tear up. It's
Oh,
actually
look,
tear up because I head back to my dad and going through those 6 months of living in a bubble, just living in an absolute bubble of, grieving my mum and grieving my dad, and grieving my dad at the same time. And people don't realize that there are people out there that go through the same thing. And I think I'm one of them. To lose my mum, that opened my eyes to, if I could, I'd swear if I could, but I'm not going to. It is turmoil.
yeah.
And I think people need to realize that, in life, people can, put on this persona that everything's okay, everything's great, a smile, whatever that looks like. But deep down, we've all got something. And that goes with mental health as well, Kate.
Absolutely.
We have the Are You Okay Day. There's not enough discussion. And that goes with disability as well. There's not enough people to stand up and fight the fight for people and go, let them be heard. Let them be heard, and let's give them the space to nurture and be able to understand the process. I think that's massive, and we don't do it enough. We don't ask the question enough of, are you okay?
And then actually taking the time to listen.
Yeah. So sorry for my little moment. Yeah,
It's what it's all about. We are real. We are real people.
Yeah.
We have real life events.
It's life's hard. And I will be very organic when I said, and we talk about this a lot because I hold my circle very close, and the ones I hold dear, because people can suck. And that's the best way I can put it. They suck. They live in their selfish bubble and they've got an agenda and that's all they see. But they don't see the catastrophic effect it can have on someone's life. And that's what needs to change. We are all human. We all have feelings. We all have family members. what makes anyone any better than anyone else? What gives people the right to tear someone down to make themselves feel better? That's not okay.
And
It's
this
not.
is not what this podcast is about, but even this morning on Facebook, I read something. A mother is saying goodbye to her 21-year-old son today because
It's
he committed suicide. We've
it's
had a local girl, a local college girl commit suicide last week.
it's tough out there, Kate. And
Tough.
like, and I mean, you know it too. I have a 17-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a near 11-year-old, and I'm scared.
Oh,
I I just have, you know, I'm so, so blessed that they're open to me. They talk to me. I had my son, and I'll be very, look, because we're human, right? And I'm going to say it. I had my son ring me from work in tears. He's 17. And to have that happen, I'm like, my heart, people don't realize that when you have children, that's your heart walking outside of your body. And to have him not here, but I'm the first one he thinks to call,
it's pretty amazing.
it's amazing to me. But the fact that I couldn't get to him in that moment, that's what I want to stop.
Yeah.
It's a conversation. And I'm blessed that my kids and they know that we're there, we're present. But some kids don't have that.
No.
Sorry, they don't. And having the world the way it is, and the animosity and the hate and the bullying, it's all encompassing. It's all navigating something in life. And I think people navigating disability have a lot more pressure
Absolutely.
because whether it's physical, whether it's invisible, they're all struggling. And there's always someone out there that wants to tear them down. And I think that's the conversation we need to have.
And you
That
are 100% correct. That's
Sorry.
exactly where we need to
I
go.
didn't think I'd be teary, like because I'm not a teary person. As that, I hold my cards close. But I just find that this space it's challenging. It's challenging,
I
and
think the older we get to, the more we realize
yeah,
how bad things can get.
mm, yeah,
And it certainly is affecting me a lot more. Probably
yeah,
because I'm allowing it to affect me. I'm not pushing these emotions down, which a lot of people do.
yeah,
So moving forward, that's my idea for this podcast.
absolutely. It's having the organic conversation.
Absolutely. And, if there are people out there that they would like us to interview, please let us know. We're more than happy to have a chat because everybody has their own story.
And
That's
this is not a space of judgment. It's not. It's a conversation, and you can share what you want when you want. It's not about you come on and you have to answer all of these questions. It's let's have a chat so that your voice is heard and your challenges are noted to the world. Like it's what can we do for you? I think it's having that safe space to go, I'm not okay. I need help. And I hope that's what we can bring to the community.
Thank you so much for your time this morning.
No worry, it went off script, but I think
I don't
that's
even think we looked at our list of questions once. As happens every day throughout the day, we just talk. And
yeah,
that's what I
yeah.
love.
And I
Um,
think that's what we want to hold for people, to have that time to just have a chat. And it may be a silly chat, it may be a serious chat. It's guided by how you feel on the day and how you want to, I don't know, present your challenges. It's I want it to be as organic as it can be.
and I am really, really excited. I'm
Yeah,
excited what we've got coming up. I'm
yeah,
excited at who we've got coming up.
yeah,
So stay tuned.
yeah.
This is only the first one. There is many more to come, and give us a call if you've got any questions. We're here.
Excellent. All right. Well, we'll leave it there. Thank you for listening, guys, and we hope to speak to you soon.
Have a great day.
Yeah. Bye.